What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Watch It in Action. I'm Bousefeenux. No, I'm Bousefeenux. Cut. I never should have agreed to get myself cloned. Anyways, welcome back to Watch It in Action, and in this episode, we'll be covering everyone's favorite assault rifle, the Soma Prime. Now, before we get started, I want to quickly let you guys know that we are doing this weapon today because it was chosen by vote on the last video in the straw poll. Now, Synoid Simulor did come in at a close second, and I know a lot of you guys have been asking about my build on that, so we'll do that one in the next Watch It in Action video. But for the Soma Prime, this weapon is the go-to weapon for many players, and it's highly sought after by newer players as well. With its high magazine capacity, fast fire rate, high critical damage and chance, and reliable stats, it's very easy to see why. This is a weapon you can get without too much trouble, and it'll literally carry you just about anywhere in the game. Now, that's my major problem with the Soma Prime, though, as sometimes I feel like it kind of makes the game a little bit too easy, and also people become very fixated on this weapon and forget that there are other awesome weapons out there. That being said, though, it's really hard to beat the reliability and fun factor of using this weapon. Now, as for the stats, at first glance they seem kind of weak, as with a max rank serration and heavy caliber, we still have a very low amount of base damage. That is, however, made up for in critical damage and sheer rate of fire, which you can kind of see here in this footage. Now, the one Achilles heel to this weapon is that it is primarily slash-based, so it falls off against highly armored targets at high level. But if you have the right party, which is like a full corrosive projection, squad, everything like that, you won't have too much of an issue dealing with enemies at high level. Now, I know you're all waiting to see the build, so let's go ahead and jump into that. Alright guys, so checking out the mod screen here, we've got 5 forma invested into this weapon. Now the mods you need to make this weapon great aren't very hard to get a hold of. Some of the corrupted mods like heavy caliber and stuff, those are going to be tough to get, but really they're not that bad, and you can actually buy them for platinum fairly cheaply from other players if you can't get a hold of one yourself, or you can just run Orc and Derelict missions to get them, so that's an option there. But anyway, the 5 forma is totally worth it in this weapon. You're not really going to spend a better 5 forma, especially early on in the game with a weapon as powerful as this one is. Just remember to not use this thing all the time, because it kind of is a crutch. It will get you through the game very easily, but as a player, you're not going to really be challenged, and I think that's some of the fun of Warframe, is actually being challenged and trying out different weapons and builds. So don't forget about some of the other awesome weapons out there when you're putting this thing together. Anyway, the mods are fairly simple. This is just a standard crit rifle build. With the addition of a bladed rounds. Now, I was using a hammer shot previously, but since bladed rounds came out, it gives us a lot more crit damage, and all we have to do is kill an enemy. Now, at higher levels, that's going to be a little bit harder to achieve, but this thing is so powerful that you can easily make that happen, and we'll show you guys that here in a second when we test this out in the simulacrum. But Vital Sense is going to give us our crit damage. That's this number right here. That's the critical multiplier. And with just a Vital Sense, the bladed rounds doesn't take into consideration in this stat screen right here, but with just a Vital Sense, we get 6.6 times critical multiplier. That's really important because the base damage is so low on this weapon. Like, our slash is our highest here, and it's not even 50, so you're going to need that crit damage. Vital Sense is absolutely necessary for this build. Point Strike is another one that I feel is absolutely necessary as well. You can use an Argon Scope instead of the bladed rounds, but red crits are nice, but the bladed rounds, the extra crit damage is going to be way more helpful than the occasional red crit is. Now, just a Point Strike here gets us up to 75% critical chance, which with this weapon's fire rate and the split chamber with the multi-shot that it's giving us, that's going to be plenty enough. We're going to be critting way more often than we're not going to be critting. So we already talked a little bit about bladed rounds. We've talked about it a lot in previous videos. All it does is give us an extra crit damage bonus, which is this number right here, whenever we kill an enemy and whenever we're aiming for up to 9 seconds there. And that resets every time we get a kill. So that's really nice. I like this better than Hammer Shot because it's higher damage and all you need to do is get a kill. Infected Clip and Stormbringer, I'm just using Corrosive on this right now. This build pretty much only fits one element, one combined element. So you can use whatever you want. Depends on what you're fighting. If you're fighting armored targets, you're going to want the Corrosive. If you're running with a squad of full Corrosive projections, you're definitely going to want to run Viral because nothing is going to have armor if you have 4 people with Corrosive projections. So keep that in mind when you're choosing. If you're going solo like I usually do, Corrosive is going to help out a lot, especially with that slash there. The slash is going to be taking down their armor and or their health, and the corrosive is going to be taking down their armor, so those two work really well together. And we also have a decent amount of puncture damage as well. It's only 10 damage behind the slash, which isn't very much. I know it looks like a lot, but it's really not. So you get those puncture procs occasionally. The status isn't very high, but it still happens. Heavy caliber is a mod that a lot of people might argue. Some people might swap this out for a Fang Fusillade. You can do that, but I'd rather have all of my base damage increased, and with as fast as this weapon fires, it really doesn't affect the accuracy too much. It's still a fairly accurate weapon, even at long ranges. I never really have problems hitting my target or getting headshots or anything like that, and especially since it fires so fast, it's not like you have to worry about wasting shots with a 200-round magazine. So heavy caliber, I feel like, is a very solid choice for this. It's basically just another serration, which is going to give us just a 165% boost to damage. So that's pretty much the build, guys. That's the stats right there. This is a very formidable weapon. Let's go ahead and test this out in the simulacrum, and I'll show you how it works against a couple different targets. For today's exercise, we're going to be using two different targets. I wanted to use an armored target and a non-armored target, so a target with heavy armor and a target with just flesh-based health. That's going to come in the form of a corrupted heavy gunner and a corrupted ancient. So these are two really high-level enemies that you're going to find in the void. They're considered to be very tough, and you see that as the flesh-based target just totally goes down, that slash damage is going to eat right through them, and then once we get a kill, our bladed rounds is going to proc, allowing us to take out these heavy gunners fairly easily. That was pretty quick. Let's go ahead and see that again. So here we go again. We got the same amount of targets. We're going to go ahead and take down the Corrupted Ancients first because they're going to be buffing those gunners, making them really tough to kill. And you see we just tore right through them. Those crits, where some of them were over 2k, 8k, stuff like that. It's ridiculous how much damage this weapon can do and as quickly as it can do it. And then those Corrupted Heavy Gunners are just wasted again. Now those are armored targets and slash damage isn't supposed to be very good against them. But you guys can see how effective crit would be in a high-level situation. This is why a lot of people say that crit is king. It scales really well. It's got a lot going for it. But guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I know a lot of you were waiting for it for a long time. This is a staple weapon that a lot of people should have. You should definitely, it should be one of the first weapons you max out, and it should help you, in your quest to get other things and try out other weapons in Warframe. But this has been another episode of Watch It in Action, guys. I can't wait to make another one for you, and I will see you at the next one. Peace out, everybody. Do you have any twos? Go fish.